Okay.
Okay, now we're looking at some charts, Don.
All right. All right.
All
Well,
right.
first of all, yeah, thank you, Dale. Thank you. It's been a while. I like how you said I'm coming out of the closet a little bit there.
Yeah, well, it could have one
Yeah.
more than one meaning, right? It's
Yeah.
funny you talk about closets, Don. I was taught by an old veteran when I went to work at the CME. He said, Dale, make your money in a closet. Do it quietly. Don't draw attention to yourself. Don't buy flashy cars. Just be humble and go about your business quietly. And he used the closet metaphor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're not in the closet. Is that a real view of the ocean out your window there?
No, that actually is I'm about 2 miles. I live on Cape Cod in
Oh,
Massachusetts. I'm about 2 miles from the water, but that's as close as I can get. That's a mural.
oh, that's beautiful. It looks real. It's like a real set. And
Thank you. Thank you.
Don, it's great to have you here in our community. And I'd like to start off with you're very well known for your book. You wrote Chronicles of Narnia. Just kidding. Just kidding, Don. Chronicles of $1 Million Trader, published by Wiley. And they don't just publish anything, okay? You really need good quality content for Wiley to do this. So
Thank you.
how many years ago did you write that? And I'm even more interested in what it was like for you at the beginning of your journey into trading before you even wrote the book.
Yeah, thank you for that. John Wiley had contacted me several times to do what they wanted to have as an update to the infamous Reminiscences of a Stock Operator book, and they wanted something that could be updated for current day technology, current day market rhythms, any nuances that may be different now than was that were in place back when that great book was written. And so
Wow,
I
what a
said
high
no.
bar. What a high
Oh yeah,
bar for
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the reasons I said no. And
Okay.
and I thought about it, and I thought about it, and it got to a point where between them kind of pestering me a little bit in a good way, and myself really reflecting back on my life and my career, and more importantly, the challenges and the battles that I had to fight through, I felt that it would provide me a venue, it would provide me an opportunity to share the experiences as much to make sure, as I say in the book, that people are less inclined to step in the same crevices that I stepped into during my
Yes.
trading. And it's kind of funny how that evolved, Dale, because the Wiley folks and I went back and forth on the cover and the title, and the cover's got this guy like this, and the title says Chronicles of $1 Million Trader, and they say, well, you need something that grabs people's attention. And I said, well, that's all fine, but as long as I could have control over the subtitle and the content, I'm good. So we've ended up something, I guess, that is an eye grabber, but the subtitle, which is my road valleys and peaks to trading, the valley piece was very important to me, and the transparency, Dale. When I've been in the public profile over the last couple of decades in this business, it's been very important to me to talk about and talk through the lens of transparency in terms of this is not a get rich scheme. I don't ever want to be seen standing next to some car saying, look what you can do.
Oh yeah.
I have for some reason been given the honor and the privilege to make it through some rough times and come out the other side. And I want to share that story in the interest of helping others. And I wish I would have had some of the tools that I'm trying to make available to people now when I first started. I wish I had a mentor. I wish I could spend time with them. I wish I had a
Did you
book.
update your charts by hand and use the Commodity Perspective chart book?
No, I don't go back that far. I don't go back that far. In fact, it's interesting because I grew up in when I grew up in trading. I'm a financial executive, so half my career I've been CFO, CEO, that type of thing, and the other half, which I'm back in now, I've been an entrepreneur in the trading world. And so when I really got attracted to trading, as I say in the book, it was really when the internet was coming of age.
Okay.
So I never had to make the floor transition to screen. I did have to make several transitions, for example, going from a fractional world in stock trading to decimals.
Okay.
and as other changes have happened. So I've had to evolve certainly, but I am not encumbered, or maybe that's not the right term, but I learn on the screen, and that's where I come from.
Okay, well, you know, Don, you talk about valleys, and we've all had them. You know, I kind of say, you know, people out there that say, I'll sell you the secret to trading for $9,099. I say there is no secret. That's a secret. It's hard work and perseverance. What did you do during your valleys, during the drawdown period, that helped you persevere during when you were going through some hard times?
Yeah, I'll be frank, I'll be candid. I'm not here to preach, believe me, but it was my family and it was my God that got me through all of that. My
Wow.
family was incredible support system. My wife has always been behind me, beside me, in terms of you know, A, having the faith in me, and B, you know, agreeing to be with me and supportive of me no matter what, no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, no matter how well or not well off we are financially. And the story, as I tell in the book, was, you know, I wanted to make sure I was leading the Midwestern operations for a telecommunications firm in the late 90s, and you know, I got bitten by this bug, and I thought I had a plan, Dale, right? I said, you know, geez, I've got 6 months of part-time trading experience that's generated X, you know. Compare that to what I was making as a corporate executive. I'm thinking, well, that's really a no-brainer, even though I was doing very, very well. And this is when I was in my upper 30s. So I made the switch in April of that year. And in that April, I gave back everything I'd made in the prior 6 months.
Man plans and God laughs, Don.
Yeah, yeah. So, and you know, here I am, you know, just bought an executive home. We built our dream house on the side of a hill in Wisconsin, and I had my kids that were in elementary and middle school, and you know, I really thought I'd made the worst decision of my entire life. So what I had to do is I had to reassess, I had to retool. My family offered me a family house back here in New England, which was a house that I grew up in as a kid in the summers anyway. And it was a great landing spot. And from there, once I ate that humble pie and did a lot of introspective research and review, that's when the tide started turning incredibly in my favor. And through no great thing that I did, other than maybe just take myself down a few notches and go at it from a different perspective.
Yeah, so you had to downsize, take the heat off, and become Lazarus. So I think that a Lazarus experience is something anyone who stays in the game for a few decades has to experience. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about Jelly Trader, and perhaps that has something to do with the charts we're looking at right here.
Yeah, so it's interesting because when I first started trading, I was asked pretty quickly to write articles and teach, and I for some reason I've been given the I don't want to say it's a blessing, maybe it's a curse of having a couple of different skill sets, one of which is that of a communicator. So, you know, I was doing writing for trading markets, you know, back in the Larry Connors days, and teaching, and then I went off the grid because I felt I was becoming more of an author and an analyst than I was really a trader. So I wanted to buckle down on my own trading, and then I kept getting nudged back to this field because I come to the field of education because I come from a family of educators, sisters, parents, grandparents, and I enjoy that part of it. So when I came back, this is about 2008, 2009, when the light bulbs were really kicking on to me, and I can share the two huge light bulbs that came on to me in a little bit. You know, people asked me to get back into the educational part of it, and I said, okay, if I'm going to do it, how am I going to do it? And so I said, I would want to provide what I wish I would have had early in my career, and that would have been extended time with someone who hopefully knew what he or she was doing, and just the ability to be with that person for an extended period of time, different market rhythms. I don't want to do a Saturday seminar and then you show up Monday and it's completely different, right?
Right.
So it was important to me. So we created this program back, I think it was in 2009, called the Jellyfish Program. And the Jellyfish description really was intended to reflect the adaptability and the flexibility that's required on the part of traders. We have no control over the markets. We have to float where the market goes, and we have to adapt to the market conditions, just like a jellyfish. A jellyfish in the ocean has no self-propulsion capability. The jellyfish has to eat off of the environment which he or she is placed in, and that's very much like trading. So we created a program designed around that, and I had 120 people that wanted to do it with me. I only wanted to pick 20. It was not a money grab exercise, and I wanted to take people from different walks of life. So I took 2 professional athletes, 1 former NFL quarterback. I took entrepreneurs, former floor brokers, corporate executives, homemakers, and so we did that for 8 weeks, and then that became the context and the foundation for 14 subsequent programs I've done over the years. What you're looking at now, Dale, is really the next evolution, and I'm not here to sell, market, hype any of this. I will certainly explain what we're doing if people are interested, but I've evolved in my thinking from a person who's wanted to teach and encourage self-sufficiency to believing that I believe we're not meant to live this life alone. And so it became a bit of a mission of mine to find some way to network independent trading offices around the world, and to do so and redefine the traditional chat room by having something like a common data stream. And that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing a common data stream that right now 130 offices around the world, 130 traders in 13 countries and 5 continents are all following. And we're able to talk about this and discuss it and narrate to it over the course of the day. We have a licensing agreement from the vendor that allows us to do this. And so the idea is really to leverage off of each other, to create a network that's...
What kind of charts are these?
Yeah, and a network that's holistic, Dale. One that it's not just charting, it's not just technicals. I believe, looking back at my career and my valleys, and you know this, right? It's up here. It's up here.
Yeah, it's all in your head.
And so we can talk charts, patterns, waves, and all that, which we do, and wholesale opportunities. But to me, this has to be looked at from a holistic perspective. We got to be looking at the technical aspect. We also have to be looking at our mental mindset. John Wooden, the great UCLA basketball coach, was a great proponent of reminding us that it was as much what we did off the court and how we prepared ourselves off the court than what we did on the court. And we were talking last night amongst the team that it's really about, you know, what is it, the art of war, right? That most battles are won before the battle occurs. The planning, the mindset, and that. So this is a subset, what you're seeing here in terms of the things that we follow over the course of the day with the S&P futures markets. That's what we trade.
Okay. So what's the difference between ETH, Russell? Is that that's the E-mini?
Yeah, these are all mini
Russell.
Yep.
Okay.
So we have different subsets. For example, live ETH represents the combination of charts that we follow during the extended trading hours. So between 5 p.m. Eastern and 9:30 a.m. Eastern, we're following actually what the market is doing live during that time. One of the things that we focus on, and that I focused on over the past 5 years, is those market opportunities that happen outside of the normal United States trading hours.
So more easily exploited. Fewer participants.
I really feel that way. It really still stuns me a bit, right? And I think a lot of this goes back to the floor days, right? Right. The bell goes off at 9:30. A lot of those folks are done by the first hour. You know, certainly wrapping up by 4:30, and it's done. And we now are in a 24/5 global world, right? We have liquidity which has increased greatly overnight. It's not always there, but there are times. There are times when Europe opens 3 a.m. my time. There's times when the Nikkei opens at 8 p.m. my time, Shanghai 9:30. There are repeatable patterns. There are very distinct repeatable patterns with the S&Ps during those times that I spent the last 5 years studying, researching, and reviewing. And so I make about 90% of my P&L is made outside of the 9:30 to 4 hours. And so what we do is we follow that, and then we, of course, during the course of the day, the normal trading session, which I just switched to, this is what we will look like through the eyes of the cash market when we open at 9:30. We're going to be gapping up at 75 off of a very strong close near 72. But in my eyes and in my mind, it's not a gap. We actually traded and trended with rhythm, with potential during the Europe and during the Asian hours that brings us to this point. So that's how
So
I
let me ask you this. I think one of the greatest opportunities, there were two last year, was the Brexit, where we had sharply lower S&Ps
yeah.
on the vote. And what was even more tremendous, and Carl Icahn must be a student of yours. He left this, the party, the victory celebration, when the S&Ps were limit down, when it was announced Donald Trump was president. And God, what an opportunity that was. I mean, I'm used to when you get to a limit, it usually sticks. And remember how pools used to build up, Don, when you had a limit move, and people would pay extra to get out that day. Happened a lot in the meats and things like that, where you had daily trading limits. But
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
were you there for that?
I was there. I would have loved to have said I capitalized on both of those, and
Yeah.
I will tell you that I suboptimized the opportunity in both of those. I do remember the election. If I recall, we actually started gapping up from a strong close or moving up overnight, and then when the results hit, of course, we tanked.
Yeah.
And once the limit was lifted and we started trading above the limit, Europe raised the market from that point, and then when the U.S. market opened,
Yeah.
the cash session, we weren't quite down at limit. We were about halfway from where we ended up being later in the day. And
Yeah.
Europe put the bottom in, right?
Right.
U.S. leads, right? U.S. leads, but when the U.S. is sleeping, Europe leads, right?
Interesting.
U.S. is the big
It's like a
dog.
relay. It's like a relay race.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. And
All right.
this is
So
why I see these
go ahead.
transitions.
All right.
From the U.S. close at, let's say, 5 o'clock. U.S. futures market shut down Eastern time now, shuts down for an hour, reopens at 6. There's a 2-hour window until the Nikkei opens. There's a 1.5 hour until Shanghai opens, and then you go, into the next morning when Europe
When do you
opens.
sleep, Don?
Well, I can't. Obviously I can't be here during all those times. And when I was in my 30s and my 40s, though, I could trade 3-4 a.m. Europe, and I'm telling
Okay.
you, and I think you've seen this too, Dale, where
Well, I'm
I
up at
told
3:30 every day.
the people that live in Europe, whoever's listening to me, if you are living in Europe, right,
Stay
I
there.
envy you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
envy you. You look at the charts, the rhythms, the patterns from 3 to 7, 8 a.m. Eastern time, my time, 9 a.m. Germany time and beyond. It's like, oh my goodness, it's so clean, it's so crisp. You can get size on. It's not the cowboy opening. It's not this, that, all over the place. It doesn't look like an EKG. It is so fluid. And there's gold there. There really, really is, without exaggerating it.
Don, in FX, a lot of the reversals happen in Europe before New York is here. So
Absolutely.
some of the big turning points happen while we're, Rip Van Winkle.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. And when you get into things, those are the follow volume profile, for example, and you see, you see maybe the U.S. market closes its cash market, and you've got a very flat top at the end of the profile. It just has not exhausted yet. You'll often see that exhaustion happen as the U.S. market reopens, and then as Asia pushes us up a little bit. There are these patterns, and I still scratch my head. I see so many people, maybe through its necessity and through family obligations and all that. I see so many people that 5 o'clock, bang, trading's done, you're off. That's when I start.
yeah. Don, I'm looking at what you have up here on the screen. There's a couple of things. The blue box in the middle at the bottom with the red triangles and the yellow.
Yeah.
What's that telling you? That's biases.
This is something that I've worked actually as a fellow who that worked alongside of me in one of my programs several years ago who helped me program this. And what we're looking at here, by the way, is yesterday. This is I intentionally wanted to show this to you. This was yesterday's move off of the early lows, off
Right.
support, and before we went off to the races. So what this is I'm a big proponent of viewing the market through the lens of different time frames and different indicators. But one challenge, as I'm sure you and your followers know, is that you risk mental overload, too much information. How do you assimilate all that information?
Yeah.
And I'm a KISS guy. I'm a keep it simple guy. And
Yeah.
so what this reflects at the bottom there is there's 7 rows of bias, basically, that goes from a very short time frame to a larger time frame, and I can see it evolve over time. So it's a mixture of time, and it's a mixture of of the indicator itself. And one example, Dale, for example,
Is
bias
that
one.
proprietary, something you've coded or developed?
It's a little bit of both, actually. It is
Okay.
proprietary in nature, but some of this, I don't think you can duplicate it exactly, but you can probably get the same flavor by looking at a few things. Bias
Okay.
number one, for example, this top row, if I flip back to our live chart, this row here is the cumulative delta, those that follow cum delta, which is also displayed up here. It is the net delta, the net difference of the aggression of contracts being bought on the ask versus sold on the bid. It's an objective, quantifiable, this is what is happening right now. And if we have that happening at key turning points, then that can be gold. So my cumulative delta indicator for myself is very, very important to confirm that I might be expecting something, but oh, there's the evidence. And so that's the first row. Blue is good, is bullish, and red is bearish. And then as you work yourself down the grid, if I flip back to the larger one here again, you've got other things happening. You've got a 3-minute momentum, for example, in bias 2. So as your momentum indicator is dropping here, and this is like a modified MACD. I call it a MACD on steroids that we programmed. If this is declining, then this is going to be showing red. If this is increasing, you're going to be showing blue. And we go down the pattern here. Bias 3 is a 15-minute chart. Same thing, momentum. And what happens is over time, if you're watching this live, for example, over the course of yesterday, you're seeing something like this evolve bar by bar. And this allows my very simple mind to look at this in a heartbeat and say, okay, I was thinking long, we're in a bull market, I'm looking for triggers to confirm, bang, there it is, and then I can start leading long on heavy on the long side. So it's a visual indicator. It combines literally about a dozen different time frames and elements that makes this simple mind able to focus a little bit better and just focus on order execution and price action.
Okay, and the box on the right, that's a big, looks like the World Trade Center.
Yeah, that is for those that follow a volume profile. And here's a screen that's got that day by day for the regular trading session. Jim Dalton's done a lot of work on this. There's been a lot of good. There's a lot of good stuff out there. It's another visual representation of the market. It's looking at the market price action through the lens of where did significant volume take place, and where did insignificant volume take place. And we'll look at things like what are referred to as low volume nodes, right? So what the market is saying here at the 2765 area is that the market didn't like trading there. It rejected that area and it traded above it last night. So the thought being that when the market gets back down there in the first or second test, it's again going to reject that and it's going to move back up to where value is accepted in the marketplace. And so it's a supplemental chart I use during the course of the day. That's why I have it off to the right. I term it like when you're driving a car, it's like your side view mirror, right?
Okay.
You want to be looking through the windshield, but you want to be aware of the side view mirror and kind of do that constant scanning so you don't miss your blind spot. And it's another visual way to look at it. And this is that poor high I was telling you about, very flat as we entered the cash market last night. The auction process, as is described by so many folks, is one where the market cannot stop going up until that last person is either barfing out the short, excuse the expression, or just paying such a high premium that nobody else is interested in conducting business there. And until you have that taper, the market's going to push higher, and that's what's happened overnight.
Okay, so Don, you have a new project. Okay, I've been to your new website and a new partner.
It is.
Go ahead. So
it's Miller Dane Network, MILLERDAYNE network.com. It is it's really an evolution for us. It gets at a holistic approach. There are a lot of good venues out there. We're not looking to take business away from folks. We're not looking to do anything other than improve on the model. And the idea of networking, what we found, we've been up and running. This is our 5th week now. And the stories that we've heard from folks, it's been heartwarming. Is everybody successful? Does everybody turn themselves into some kind of mega great trader? No, of course not. We're going to have the whole spectrum like any place would have. Yet the consensus has been that it's been a tool to link people who would otherwise be doing this alone And what we do is it's kind of like an AARP or a AAA rate, Dale. We try to provide services. We have the data streaming that we're looking at here, but we also have coaching available. We have algo programming available. We have bundled services such that if people were to purchase them separately, it would cost them literally thousands of dollars versus a couple $100s a month. And providing that value in a way where it's hopefully accretive to the trader's P&L over time, and it becomes an asset versus an expense. That's the model, and time will tell. Time will tell, but early returns and feedback from the participants has been as exceptional as I've ever seen with anything that I've been involved in. And there's things that we can continue to do better, and we're tweaking. The other thing that we do, by the way, is I'm on audio. I'm on this all day long, and it's a bit like it allows traders to use another sense, so they can look at the charts, look at their own systems and their order entry platforms, but they're hearing some air traffic control throughout the course of the day that's reminding us to look at different things. And I use my trades as examples, so I talk about them, but it's not say, push this button, push that button. It's like, okay, this is what we're looking for. There it is. There's some confirmation, and it's allowing people to use their ears over the course of the day. It's kind of like a squawk box.
Yeah, because if you gave them everything, Don, they'd be completely dependent upon you to stand up and sit down.
Exactly.
Because I mentor too, and if you just give signals all the time, people won't learn. They're inherently, most people are too lazy to do this.
Yeah, it's the whole package. It's got to be approached holistically. I'm convinced of that, and I'm about win-win scenarios. I want the traders to do well. I want those, certainly providing the service to do well. But I facilitate this, but I'm one of those 130 trading offices. I make my income trading. And so I have to remind them at times that I'm here alongside of you, and I'm helping and I'm facilitating, but mostly I'm thinking out loud over the course of the day, and you're just listening to me. So.
Right. So Don, when we talked a few years ago, and I admire it, we reap what we sow, but you were doing some philanthropic work for the Diabetes Association because of your personal experience. Is that going to continue with your new project?
Yeah, we still certainly work with the charities. Actually, I'm not. My daughter, my diabetic daughter, she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 10. And it was a really tough time for us, and we did a lot of work with the American Diabetes Association, really for about 5 or 6 years during that time. And we gave them, I forget what it was, I think it was close to $20,000 eventually. It's important to give back. It's important to give back. So right now we're working with World Vision. We're sponsoring children. I tend to tag people who have my same birthday so I can remember when their birthdays are. We're doing some work there, and we've done some work with Boston Strong over the years with the marathon bombing, and we've got other interests that actually we're polling the people as we speak to see what interest they have. And we spent a lot of time during the MF Global debacle in working with James Catoulis and the Commodity Customer Coalition to help get people their money back. And so, we're certainly looking to continue to pay it forward, not only in terms of education, but in terms of financially supporting it. So the American Diabetes Association still remains near and dear to me. They do a lot of great stuff. We're trying to look for causes where they spend, a bulk of the money that we give them. Just about all of that goes to the effort itself and not to administration. So we try to be careful there.
Okay, Don. So what's the best way people could get in touch with you and check out your offerings and your program if they want to become
absolutely
a jellyfish?
So my email address is the best one is right, Don at millerdanenetwork.com. That's MILLER.
Do you want to show that website? Well, we still have a few minutes.
I can do that here. So let me. How do I minimize something here, right? So,
Don, it's interesting you use the jellyfish as, an eagle is my animal spirit right now, but I've been a lion. I've been, a sheep early in my career.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
But, it's interesting, the jellyfish, you see on TV them promoting a supplement that's good for your brain that comes from a jellyfish.
It is.
You know that?
I think it's Prevagen, isn't it? Prevagen?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So this is
You're way
yeah.
ahead of the curve. Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so here's the website. One of the interesting things, and this is it's Miller. I know it shows as a different address down here, but if you go to Miller Dane Network, MillerDayne network.com, that will bring you to this. It's just housed in a different directory right now, and it will show you all the services. It will show you some feedback from the early participants. And the cool part of this, Dale, right now is if you look at this global office menu item here, these are all of the global offices that we have connected now in just 4 short weeks. We've got about 90 in the U.S. in 31 states, quite a lot around the New York area, as you can see.
Uh-huh.
And then
Florida.
we're international here. And then here's a close up in terms of where here's me. I'm my lonesome guy out here in Cape Cod.
Nice.
So that's the site, and the best way they can reach me is just Don at MillerDaneNetwork.com. Or Don at DonMillerLive.com. Either one of those will get to me. And we are continuing to offer a charter rate at $395 for life. So no matter what services we offer down the road, we will keep that, and we will honor that for people that have taken a little bit of a risk with us, if you want to call it that. Although we think it's like an option, we think that there's no risk and tremendous upside. And again, it's a different way of viewing trading rooms. And again, I'm not here to sell or hype, but it's something that we're building, and we're going to continue to evolve it based on trader feedback and go from there. So the stories so far have been very encouraging, and including one heartfelt letter that I got just on Wednesday, where he went to great lengths, talking through how he felt about it. And we take all this to heart, good, bad, and indifferent, and move on from there. So.
Well, I wish you much success, Don.
Thank you.
And it was great talking to you and seeing you. And I hope the best for you and everyone that hears your voice narrating during the day. My trading warrior brother, Don Miller, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for the privilege and honor. Stay well, everybody listening. It's an incredible career, and God bless you all. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Don. Don Miller, and you can find him on Twitter at Miller Don, and that would direct you to wherever he is.
Absolutely.
So that's it, everyone. You're very welcome. Thank you all. Don, you are on investing.com today. They're live streaming this event, and we'll see everyone tomorrow for TGIF Friday. Good hunting, and remember, most of all, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. See everyone tomorrow. Thanks again, Don Miller.
You're very welcome.